Hey now.
Hey now.
Hello.
Welcome
hey
to
now.
the show.
Hey.
Hello.
So we are super excited to bring a guest with you. Would you like to introduce
Yes, we have a great guest today,
Appreciate
Ron
you.
Bush, the infamous Ron Bush.
Yes.
Yes.
Talented,
Comedian, traveling the globe for
extraordinaire.
14 years now?
I'm on my 14th year of doing stand-up comedy. I'm a national sales rep for the company Serve Pro. We fix buildings, and so they actually we're on like the 13th month or maybe the 14th month outside of like December where we don't do anything for holiday season where they sponsor my stand-up comedy shows. And so we bring in major comedians. Last month we had the legendary Paul Rodriguez. We've had Russell Peters. We've had Omar Gooding. Just some great comedians, and we're planning out our next ones now. We're actually about to start doing fundraisers that we're looking for a venue. I don't want to confirm it yet, but we have a beautiful venue downtown Los Angeles that we're going to do. It'll be our first fundraiser that we've done, and it'll be for the Midnight Mission. So we can help. Contribute a little bit of money to fight the homelessness problem, and they're doing great work down there for people that are struggling through addictions and everything like that. And so we're really looking forward to that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I think it's great to give back in any way you can to help. Regardless of what it is, if more people stepped up to the plate and even just giving your time, volunteering like what you're doing and having a fundraiser.
I did that too. I volunteered at the food bank for a few months there and didn't realize there was a lot of Ukraine and Russian refugees that were coming in. That was not what I expected. It actually got me starting to learn Russian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I could talk with them a little bit and learn a new language. So that was fun.
That's See, this is why we love you. We just wanted to throw that out there.
And you also have a podcast too.
Yes.
So
I have a podcast. It's called.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's called Mike and Ron Here to Help You. It's audio only right now. It's anywhere you find your podcasts. Me and comedian Mike Sasson, and I had mentioned to you, I'm black, I'm gay, I'm the white woman's spirit animal as I introduce myself on stage. So me and you are going to get together. We're going to get along much more than Rich. He's a homie of mine, but
you've known Richard for 30 years or something like that.
Probably about 30 years. Yeah,
I'm not jealous or offended by that.
Exactly. There's a very funny story of me climbing up into the third floor of an apartment building to get to knock on his window. So
wait. Explain what? What? You did what?
I was at the time. I had just moved here to Los Angeles. I was living in Huntington Beach. He had this beautiful home in Hollywood that he was allowing me to crash on the sofa with. I couldn't remember how to get into the building. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning. So the only way for me to do that was to climb up on this back, like gutter escape, a fire escape. And, I don't know if you know this or not, but Rich trains like to kill people for a living. So
I do know that. I do. He could kill somebody with a pencil, he said.
So that almost wasn't a good idea. Let's just put it that
way. Wait, so you're shimmying up the drain pipe in order to sleep on the couch? This was a stellar moment.
Absolutely. And I'm like, what the fuck? What?
Yeah, what the fuck are you doing, Ron?
What? Why?
At 6 a.m. Meanwhile, I'm already up, ready, walking out the door to go to work. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
He's up, he's ready to go. He's like, it wasn't like I was walking into a sleeping place. This guy was ready to snap my neck and throw me down the street.
He's like, I forgot my keys again. What do you mean?
So these are the way that you met your lifetime friends. That's how you know, right there.
This is how you know.
Neck not snapped. I'm still alive. I'm happy.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
But,
how was you, Ron?
How would you know? You're on the third floor and somebody's knocking on your window. From
you were shimmying up to the third floor? The third?
Well, what he did was he shimmied up the downspout to grab onto the ladder of the fire escape. And once he got onto the ladder, he could climb all the way up to the third floor.
Oh my gosh. You had a fire escape in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm Black Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, we used to hang out on my roof.
Oh,
yeah.
I love roofs.
Oh, yeah.
Underneath the Hollywood side. So we go up there and hang out and it was great.
Absolutely. But Mike and Ron here to help. The podcast, basically, we take some of the more challenging subjects that are going on, that are current affairs, political, social, and we talk about it in a way, whether we agree with each other's point or not. We try and be as humorous as possible, but it's not a comedian podcast. It's if anything, it's like the genesis of where we get our jokes from, because we take these serious subjects, and comedians we're emotional alchemists. And so we're trying to teach people who don't hear people being able to be agreeable while disagreeing, emotional intelligence, different ways to look at things, different perspectives to look at different subjects, giving information that people may not have known. I just turned 55 on March 17th. A lot of things that are going on racially, and in the LGBT, when it comes to LGBTQIA plus laws and such, a lot of the historical information that I have, that I lived through, people aren't aware of it today.
Right.
Mike Sasson, he's from Pittsburgh. He was raised in a very blue collar household. He's the quintessential white man. So, he has very interesting perspectives. He was a football linebacker. So his experience on getting to know people of color and gay people and everything is very different, and he has a very interesting insight on and perspective on how people from the Midwest can be reacting to certain things that are happening in our society today. So we just have an open conversation, kind of something like me and Rich always chop it up. We just kind of lay it all on the table, and we always finish off. You know what? We're just here to help, folks. Mike and Ron here to help.
I love that. And you're from Philly, yeah? Philly?
I'm from West Philly, born and raised, but do not sing that song. Yes.
I will not.
It's like, I'm just here to help. I love what you said about, teaching, or not even teaching, but emulating, showing people how you can communicate with one another and still agree to disagree.
Right.
Our society today, and I don't want to blanket this, but a lot of people do not have communication skills, do not know how to kind of stay in their own lane, be transparent, have a conversation, and at the end of the conversation say, look, we are still friends, no matter what your beliefs are, no matter what your choices are. It's just a conversation. But a lot of people, I've noticed, especially with the heat of the politics, like you said,
absolutely,
so many people have lost friends. I have lost friends. Not because of me, but because they've come to the table and said, oh, did you hear this? Do you want to talk? And I said, look, I don't talk politics or religion with my friends. Oh, so I guess you voted for so-and-so and I don't want to talk to you now.
Right.
You know what? That's your choice.
When the conversation's over, what's left?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's happened with me as well. I have a dear friend of mine, one of my oldest California friends, this guy named Chris. He is, he's been in the Army. He's on his 23rd or 24th year in the Army.
Wow.
He is, listen, wonderful. He's a great friend of mine. Guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, he is a Republican. He's a conservative, but he does not have a racist bone in his body. Okay, he does not. Me and him do not agree on a lot of social issues, on policy and things like that. But every time we get together, we have a fantastic conversation. Because we're able to hear where we all come from, and how he arrived at his opinions, how I arrived at my opinions, how things affect him and his family, how things affect me and my family. And so there's no need for us to argue. Let's crack open a beer, have a conversation, and learn, like I like to say a lot of times is, you'll never, if you have an intelligent conversation with somebody that you don't agree with, neither one of you will even if you don't agree at the end, neither one of you will be worse for wear. You'll both be more intelligent, because now you actually, even if you disagree, you can understand where this person came from. Until you walk a mile, what's the phrase? You have to walk a mile in a person's shoes. Yeah. When you have that conversation, you don't have to, I was talking with this guy the other day who, we had marched together during the Black Lives Matter protests, and we were talking about how Kamala Harris should not be the nominee for the Democratic ticket, and at that time I preferred Joe Biden because he was an older white man going up against an older white man, and for all the racial issues in this country at that time, I did not think the country was ready for that, and I did not like some of the policies she had when she was an attorney general here in the state of California, and we had that conversation. And so the other day, I posted on Instagram, white dudes for Harris, and I posted, hey, listen, to all my straight white male brothers and sisters, brothers out there, now's your time to kind of jump into being to organizing. If you support women's rights, if you love Black culture, if you love Latin culture and and if you like diversity, this is an opportunity for you to help get people to vote for someone who's going to do a better job than the person that she's running against. And his response was, one of my friend's responses was, I would never vote for her, and I can't believe you would, based off of the conversation we had, however, 3-4 years ago. And I was like, listen, this is called objective thinking. I don't have to, I said, I could list at least 3 policies that I don't agree with Bill Clinton on, that I don't agree with Barack Obama on, that I don't agree with Joe Biden on, and I could name at least 1 or 2 policies about Trump that I do agree about. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to have to vote for that. It doesn't mean that I'm going to close my mind to who is the person who's going to support the policies that are going to be most beneficial for me. We all vote in our own special interests. We vote for what we think is going to do best for us. We all want to have the same things in life. We want to have a safe home. We want it to be clean. We want a nice job. We don't want to be stepping over homeless every time we're trying to go to and from that job. We want to be able to take care of our families. We want to feel secure and empowered. Whatever we do, that's what everybody wants. If you boil it down to what happiness is. And so that's what I felt. And he still couldn't understand how it was that I could look at somebody and say, I don't agree with a lot of your policies, but I guarantee you're going to have the better interest to me, the better interest in mind for what I need to do to thrive than the other person. And so it was, and it was an interesting conversation, but at the entire time, I didn't get upset. I was just pointing out facts. If you're straight and you love women, well, name one law that disenfranchises your body, then name all the laws that disenfranchises a woman's body. And why is that? How is it that you believe that there should be that the woman that you supposedly love doesn't have the wherewithal to be able to make her own decisions about her own body? It's that simple. And my thing was, you cannot love someone if you don't give them freedom. And freedom to me is 100%. There is no bargaining of freedom.
I love that.
Well, I'm not going to give you most of the freedom, but so I can feel empowered. How do I feel empowered if anyone in my friend circle, my family circle, my love circle is disempowered or feels less than? If there was a politician that was saying, you know what, the white man is the devil, like you heard people, some of the more radical, Black thought leaders in the 60s, 70s, and 50s were saying, we don't want white people to do this. We don't want white people to do that. I would never vote for this person. Why? Because I have so many white people that I love. White people, generally speaking, aren't against me. And you know what? Even if you are, I want you to have the same things that I have. Because when you do, then there's not going to be a problem about it. So let's go for equality and wash your hands with it. And if you can't recognize that, then you have to look at yourself and say, okay, so why am I being fired up? About this. I have one of the jokes I'm working on right now is called straight male privilege. And one of the biggest punchlines, I build up this crescendo. I'm a storyteller. I use personal stories mixed with social commentary to make a point. And I build up this crescendo, and I say, I call it straight male privilege. Only in America can you have straight males looking at 300 years of America and say, my vote doesn't count.
Yeah.
Well, I think everything you're saying.
I love that you said that if you love somebody, you should want freedom for them.
Well, absolutely. Freedom. And then I think I also think part of the question is, are you showing up to this as an argument, or are you showing up to this as a conversation? Because if you're showing up as an argument, then obviously there's a right and a wrong. But when you're having a conversation, you're trying to find out what is the best result for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
So again, it goes back to what you're saying. I mean, everyone deserves to have a voice. Everyone deserves to have an opinion and to also be transparent. But if someone is not even willing to have a conversation with you and allow you the dignity and the grace to have your own opinion and be transparent about that, well, then we're not even having a conversation because you've already showed up and you're judging me. And, I have a good friend as well who is a diehard liberal, and he's gay, and he comes over at least once a month, and we get a Domino's pepperoni pizza.
Right.
And
plug for Domino's. Yes,
Domino's.
Plug for
Domino's. Sponsor
Domino's will be a new sponsor within a month. Yes.
Yeah. Would you please go?
And we,
Domino's,
like you and your buddy, we don't disagree. We don't agree on a lot of politics.
Right.
But he comes here.
Right.
We have a great time. Every once in a while, he'll bring.
You have a nice conversation.
Yeah, but he because. How do I preface this? I want to say because he's not. I don't even know how to preface this, but he sometimes will like to get into political conversation. So he'll try to make a point, and he comes here and he says, "Well, did you see what this guy did? And did you hear? And he should have no business in politics." And I go, "Time out, time out." I go, "You're entitled." I said, "I'm not going to judge you. Go ahead, say what you want to say." I said, "But I'm not going to get into this debate and this conversation with you because I know how you feel about it."
Well, it's because it's going to turn into not a debate, it's
correct.
Going to turn into an argument. That's the difference. Is like, can you debate? Can you discuss? Or do you have to battle? It's like, I don't want to battle with people, but I like discussing with people. But it can get, you could be walking a fine line sometimes, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, can we put the gloves down? Because you're my buddy. Like, no.
100%.
That being said, Felina's going to drop a topic on you.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Can we do a topic?
See how she is?
Yeah. So our topic for you today is since you travel around the States as a comedian, have for 14 years, how do you keep your equilibrium from that? And this is a two-parter topic. How do you keep your equilibrium and stay on course with all that change? And why do you think some people can't hack that?
Oh, wow.
I bring that up because I was a comedian for 5 years, and I heard from one of my agents, "Oh, it's a hard life." And I was like, I'm sorry, but that's fun. This is fun. But some people think it isn't. So let's discuss why some people can't hack it, and how do you keep your equilibrium while traveling so often and performing?
How do you stay grounded?
Well, I'm going to do a full disclosure here. So folks, full disclosure, there was a time where I wasn't as warm and fuzzy as I am now. And I use substances of all natures to hide my emotions and all these things. Okay, and the entire time, ever since I was like a Wolf of Wall Street guy. I used to be in the tech industry selling semiconductors, but I was traveling a lot then also. So it'll be a two-part answer. One is, I think, just through repetition, you get used to it. You get used to being in Denver, then all of a sudden you're in California. The next thing you know, you're back in Atlanta or Philadelphia. And so,
and how many days are in between that? Is it like you'll have a show with a couple days in between or a week between?
I generally, if I'm going to, when I'm touring, I'm generally flying out maybe 1 or 2 weekends out of the month, Thursday to Sunday. I don't like to be on the road more than that. I don't bounce around as I used to. Like when I first started, I used to bounce around a lot. That is exhausting. Because, you are emotionally spent if you're doing 2 or 3 shows a night for 3 nights in a row. And if you're headlining or featuring, you're doing at least a minimum of, say, 35, 40 minutes each show. And, you're, to quote the great Paul Mooney, stand-up is spiritual. It's not about the jokes. And every good comedian is going to plug into the audience, and you're inviting them into your living room. And so there is a certain spiritual vulnerability there. As I was mentioning before, stand-up comedians, we're emotional alchemists. And so because all of my jokes are about something, it's a lot. I don't see myself ever, no matter how big I get or whatever, I don't ever see myself doing stand-ups like that 5 nights, 6 nights out of the week. I need, I'm big into meditation and going back to, I think the word was used as grounded. I'll fly in the day before, or I have to fly in early that morning. So this way I have enough time to relax, do some yoga, do some stretching, get a nice meal, dehydrate, just have I love to, I love to have conversations with people, go to the hotel bar, grab a coffee, sit down, talk to a couple people, what's going on in the city that day, get grounded, know where you're at. And then do your shows and come back and then take a few days to decompress. There was a time when I would drive. I called it the loop, and so I would leave Los Angeles and I would drive north. I would stop in Sacramento, then I would do San Francisco, then I would go to Portland, then drive all the way down. Then drive all the way back to Portland, Oregon, then drive all the way down to either like Boise, Idaho, or go to Salt Lake City. Then come into Vegas, maybe drive down to Phoenix and come back in to Los Angeles, and just booking as many. I would drive it and just book as many shows as I could, doing in that loop, and that was the most. That was up until, matter of fact, I was doing that up until the beginning of the pandemic, and that takes a lot out of you. That take because you're driving a lot of miles, and then you have car legs, and you got to get out the car and try and relax and everything like that. And, I wouldn't do that again. I would, at this point now, I'd rather fly. I'll drive to Vegas. I love to drive, I think the drive to Vegas can be beautiful, seeing the mountains and the desert and everything like that. Driving, I don't like driving to San Francisco anymore. It's just, getting stuck in the traffic. It's not worth it. I prefer to drive to San Diego. But so I'll pick and choose where I drive to, because I can stop along the way and, grab some meals or something like that. And, I'm a major nature guy. So, either way, whether I fly or whether if I drive, I make sure that I take a lot of that I have enough time for me to be me and, for me to enjoy the scenery. Like Rich, we're kind of fitness guys. He's much more of a fitness guy than I am, admittedly there. But, I'd like to, go ahead, get a little gym workout in, maybe get some yoga, just stay grounded in myself. So, when it's time for me to perform, I can perform the right way.
And you notice that when you're driving, because I've done that drive up, my family lives outside of Sacramento, and they used to live more close to the San Francisco side before that, where I was raised in Fremont. Lots of driving back and forth. And I got to say, if I had a ton of money or owned some franchises, I would open some healthy food restaurants along those desolate highways, because they have the cheapest. I get it about the money, but wow, some of the food you are forced to eat, not healthy food, which does not do great for your energy as you're driving. Like,
absolutely.
And you make you sluggish.
Yeah, when you're making those drives, man, I got my tour cooler right there. I got a tour cooler right there outside in my storage closet. And you go someplace, you go to Whole Foods, you go whatever, and I'll make like 3 or 4 sandwiches that I know I'm going to like. They're going to be like, I'll make it. I love to cook, so it's going to be a gourmet sandwich. Like I'll do like, skirt steak with, mozzarella and tomato in one. Then the other one's going to be like chicken and this type of thing and that. And, so they're interesting and delicious sandwiches, and then so you don't have that problem, and, because it's really hard. It's really difficult to eat healthy on the road. It very much is, because everywhere you go is burgers and fries, fried chicken sandwiches, and
tacos,
all that garbage.
Tacos where the meat doesn't even. When I don't eat meat anymore, I'm a vegetarian, pescatarian / but it's like the tacos. You don't know what that meat is. Like what is that?
You don't know. Yeah, you don't know what it is.
You ever have a wish sandwich?
What?
No.
That's a sandwich where you have 2 slices of bread and you wish you had some meat. I don't know how you do it. I got to be honest with you. I give you a lot of credit. I am exhausted just listening to what you just said. That would destroy me. You know me. I have to be grounded. I gotta be home. I can't. You can't even change up the plan on me. If you tell me we're going somewhere, you show up and like, oh, now we're gonna do something different. I'm like, whoa, time out. I need time to regroup. Think about this.
This brings up the second part of the topic of the people who would not be happy. Let's not use the you can't hack it thing. Let's say instead not be happy with that kind of life. Is that kind of thing. Talk about that for a second, Rich.
Absolutely not. I mean, again, that would give me such anxiety.
What is it about it?
To go back to the grounded thing, I have to be grounded at all times. I got to know I'm very compartmentalized. I'm very hypervigilant.
Disciplined, very disciplined.
Routine. That's basically what it is. When I'm out of my routine, it throws me. I think where that comes from, everything comes from our past. Everything comes from the programming, the trauma, where we came from, how and what we do to protect ourselves. What is the armor that we have built around ourselves, whatever those mechanisms are, to make us feel comfortable and safe no matter where we are. So when I'm out of my element, I feel very uncomfortable. I have to be grounded. I got to have a plan. I'm very regimented. I have notes every day. I write out the day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and exactly what I got to do. And then here's the other thing. I'm sure a lot of people could relate to this, is when I go out of the house, I plan my trip. It's a round trip. So like if I have to go to an appointment, I think, well, on the way home, I can stop here, and then I can run over here, and then I can run over here. So it's a complete circle, so that I'm not wasting any time.
I do that too, but I call it efficiency.
Well, efficiency. You know. But again, it's
and I'm a little obsessed about it.
Oh yeah.
Very
well. Again, I think it stems from the mechanisms, the modalities that we pick up throughout our life in order to feel safe and protect ourselves. Some people, like yourself, I give you so much credit. I could never just get in the car and drive and go on a round trip and hit this club and perform. That would drive me crazy.
To kind of expand upon that, Rich, I'll give two answers. One, you're 100%. Well, first of all, I agree with everything you said. Your how you grew up, the environment that you grew up. That's all very important. I think we all, I'm a big Carl Jung, I'm a big psychology guy, big archetype Carl Jung guy, and so we all have certain archetypes that dominate the process of movement. And when I say movement through society, like how you just outlined a very structured life. You know what I mean? And me, I've always been a jester. I've always been a clown. And so, that archetype is about knowing the parameters and then breaking them, as an I've always been an artist. And so, there is no form or function to comedians. And I promise you, Rich, I promise both of you, sometimes when it's, I don't mind disorganization, but chaos, because you can't have, for me, structure, works, I'm like you, Rich, when I'm going out, especially when you're in LA, you need to map out where you're going because of traffic. But, when you're doing art, when you're doing comedy, you know what? Okay, so maybe you have a show at 7:30, you have a show at 9:30, you have a show at 10:30. And you got to eat in between then. And, maybe the first or the second show starts later than the other one, or maybe that second show is actually across town. So, you have to be flexible. People say, oh my God, I'm sorry, but this is happening and that's happening. So we need to adjust this or that. So, I'm a lot more flexible with that because I can make fun of it, make lighthearted jokes about it when I get on stage, but, to just Rich answered my question for me. Some people are just not built for that shit. They're just not, and there's no rhyme to reason of that. I've dated guys that, same so much Rich. They're just like, man, you're like this Energizer bunny. It's like, by the time 10 o'clock comes, I'm ready to go to bed, and I'm sitting up here looking like, well, I could still be out telling jokes. I mean, if you technically speaking, and so, I've always had a high metabolism. I've always had a high body energy, and so I think that helps me in what I do for sure. I'm a people watcher, and I revel in complicated situations because that's where humor is born. As much as Rich would probably end up murdering me, me and Rich going on the road to do some shows together would be comedy gold for me. You know what I mean? Because just watching him, just like, how are you dealing with these people? What the fuck? I thought you said it was 8:30. It's 8:30. Why is the show not starting? Just watching that happen, I'd be like, yes.
That was a pretty good impression.
Yeah.
Please, Rich, tell them how you feel.
That's why I can isolate with the best of them. That's why I stay home most of the time. And I will, let me elaborate on that. To my own detriment, I isolate a little too much because I have thought about this. I've contemplated. I've done a lot of work on it, a lot of journaling, a lot of therapy, and it's difficult for me. I have to be honest with you. Sometimes I find myself sitting here and I feel, lonely.
You know what, though? I think sometimes that's the discipline because you do things in extremes.
Yes.
So I think it's the discipline to extreme because
Very
you have
good point.
Put it together like this is my day. So there isn't room for that other thing. I don't know if it's so much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could be isolating, but it also could be taking the discipline of getting these things done because you get things done like nobody. This guy.
He does.
Incredible achiever.
Yeah.
But we are actually going to go see a movie. So we're going to go. We're going to go see. And you're welcome to join us if you'd like to. We're going to go see the Wolverine Deadpool movie this weekend.
Seen it.
Yeah, you already saw it.
Fantastic
Don't tell us anything.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie. Fantastic. Yeah. I have a new. It's complicated that I'm dating right now, and so we're planning to go see it for the second time over the weekend, or I would totally go with you. Rich, I'm gonna say this. You know what, man? I wouldn't overthink it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It'll happen when it happens. People are wired differently.
That's it.
And I think part of it is what you just said. Don't overthink it and kind of give yourself some slack. Don't overanalyze. I sometimes, like I said, I get into when I go down the rabbit hole of thinking to myself, well, here I am. I have a lot. I've achieved a lot. I'm pretty in a good position, but I don't have anybody to share it with. And
here I am, the one that
yeah, right.
But, this is why we love you.
Yeah. But hopefully this too shall pass, Yeah.
But Rich, to go to validate you, brother, how many times whether I've been in a relationship or not, have I pulled into random city in the middle of nowhere and be like, Jesus, I don't have anybody here. I'm totally alone. I feel lonely. I mean, lonely is a feeling, it just is, and I'm a guy who technically as a comedian, I'm surrounded by people and I'm making them laugh all the time. And I can walk out of that building and I can feel just as lonely as you do sitting in your living room. Trust me, because I don't have anybody to share it with. I don't know any of these people. Me and Rich have known each other for a long time. We love to have these conversations. I'm not a big small talk guy, So
same.
Right. You're not a small talk lady. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so after I've comedy is a job for me. It's a part of my work. And so if you can, and Rich, you'll appreciate this. And after you perform, your adrenaline is so high.
Oh,
it's like you've won a tournament. It's like you've run a marathon and you're like, fuck, yeah! Within 15 minutes, let me tell you something, you're like,
oh yeah. No, it's the truth. I used to do stand up and it is the truth. And it is the thing about the loneliness afterward, because the people will talk, or laugh and enjoy you, but then they don't think they can go up to you and talk to you like a regular person.
Right.
Nobody's going to. It's very rare that somebody goes, "Hey, you want to come out and have some dinner with us?" They wouldn't do it because they would think that you would say no. You're like, there's a separation of that. It's not really a fourth wall because you're talking right to them with a stand up, but it feels like that for them.
So do you? 100%. I'll ask both of you this question. Do you feel that when you perform and people see you perform, do you feel that the people feel that you're kind of unattainable because you're on stage and you're a comedian and you're kind of the limelight of the show?
Except for the few people who are like, hey, would you like to go and do something later?
Right.
There's a couple that will come on to you.
She's 100% right. She's 100% right. And I'll validate that. And, a lot of female comedians also, especially now, and going back to why we do our podcast, a lot of these guys nowadays, they're on their phones so much, they're antisocial. They don't know how to be social. They don't know how to talk to women, you know? And so when you have a female who's smart and funny and they see you on stage, they see them on stage like that, they're intimidated by that, you know? They just are. And they don't know how, you know, a lot of guys don't know how to talk to that. And because maybe they're used to dating shy women, you know, who knows what it is, but seeing a female comedian, and I've seen it in action a million times now where, you know, guys just don't know how to talk to women because, you know, women comedians in particular, they're generally a lot more intelligent than they are. And they have the wit and the and the way to be able to hey, and call them on their bullshit without being offensive. And they're not used to that. You know, and so there's a lot there to that, and you know, similar for me, listen, you know, you go to Boise, you go to certain places, they don't know a lot of black gay guys, especially ones that talk like me. To them, gay is like, you know, and you know, Project One Way and shit. You know what I mean? And here you have this gay dudes like breaking down like history and, you know, civil rights and gay rights and women's rights and making you laugh at it. You know, if they're like, wait a minute, who are you? And you know, so you know, it's its own thing. You know, so it's real easy to feel lonely. You know, and going back to the small talk thing, it's like, okay, so after 10 minutes of I loved your set and what that joke was about and all that stuff, I'm ready to have a conversation like this. Let's go sit down.
What are your dreams? What are your aspirations in life? Like, when was the last time somebody really broke your heart? I sprang that one on you for one of the podcast things.
She did.
I did. I was like, when did you get your heart?
I got to be honest with you, that was a really good podcast. Well, because you
go and talk about it, and it's like it comes up.
And it was raw, and I'm all about talking about real stuff. Like, I
want it raw.
You have to. It's again, it's like with this podcast and like with my podcast, it's how you learn and grow. You know, this is the art of being human. You know, younger comedians. I mean, my God, they're so and you know, I dated this guy for a while, for a few years ago, and he had never met anyone that was not on a dating app or at like a local, like at a friend's house, referral style. And how that conversation came up was, how that conversation came up was, I was actually, he messaged me, hey, what are you doing tonight? And I was like, oh, you know what? I was actually going to drive to this bar that I heard about and just kind of see who I met. Like, it wasn't a gay bar. It was just like this really like older bar that, you know, was really popular, that was in this beach town near Orange County, a little bit past Orange County. And I just wanted to get out of LA for the night. And so I was just going to drive there, go have a meal, have a couple of drinks, you know, and drive back. And he was like, really?
What? What is this? Natural meeting?
Spur of the moment, you're going to go do something?
Why would you do that? That's exactly he sent me a text message. I ended up calling. He was like, why would you do that? And I just picked up the phone. I was just like,
why?
I was like, there was a time where we didn't have these phones, and you met people around your town, and you went places, and you know, you talked, and I love people. I want to, you know, you're never going to meet people by just being on your phone, and you know, and you never know who you're going to meet. You know, a friend, you could meet a lifelong friend because you did a random act of self-care. So, you know, you know, so that I still do that to this day. You know, I love to do that.
Funny you say that, like with this, you know, with the new generation, millennials, whatever you want to call them, younger generation in their 20s.
Yeah.
The stuff that we have gone through, pagers, checkbooks, this, that, and the other thing, they don't even understand that.
Yeah.
I was watching the show.
Right? You count that one in there.
No, I was watching. You want to hear something funny? I'm watching the show the other night, and this woman is talking to this younger girl. She's probably like 17, 18, and she was needed to get something she wanted her not to post something to take it down. And she's like, well, I'm an influencer and I get paid to do this. She goes, okay, so how much is it going to cost? $100?
Right.
So she looks at her like, what is $100? She goes, well, $500. She's like, really? $1,000. She goes, okay, I'll think about it. So the woman pulls out her checkbook. She goes, what are you drawing? And she's like, it's a checkbook. She goes, a what? Like,
oh my
but
again, I love that. We used to have to get up to change the channel on the TV.
Yeah.
There was no remote control.
Rabbit ears, like
remember that? Remember
that? We could go through this forever.
Pagers. When we first got here, we had to pull over and find a paper. Like
rotary phones.
When we were kids, we had landlines. We had one phone in the house that if your mom picked up in the other room, she could listen to your conversation.
Oh yeah.
And if you weren't home or somebody wasn't home, you didn't know that person called because there was no voice machine either.
No,
so I remember arriving home and you're driving and you get out of the car and you can hear the phone ringing and phone's ringing and everyone running
and
because and you're letting and they let the phone ring for a long time just in case somebody couldn't get to the phone fast enough.
Oh yeah.
Because it was just everybody had to deal with that.
One of my dearest friends, Janae, she's one of my oldest friends in LA. Her son Lucas, she was a single mom here. I became gay Uncle Ron to the family kind of thing, helped her babysit and everything. And I remember it was like right before the pandemic. He's 25 now. So right before the pandemic, he got gypped out of his graduation. He got accepted to UCB.
Berkeley.
Yes, and US. Oh God, I can't believe I'm having it. Anyway, so we had to. He had to send the long story short is he had to send a fax.
Oh no!
A what?
Right.
He's like.
And he was like, hey Ron. He was like, hey Ron. I guess you know what a fax is, right? My mom said I had to send one.
Oh my God. But again,
I can't believe they were still using a fax either, though. I'm a little shocked.
Things have changed so much, and technology is changing exponentially. I mean, it
changes how you're dating. So
everything.
Are you going to say something about the dating stuff?
Well, I have a client who, he's 23, and that's the only dating experience he has is over the phone. So and we were talking because he was saying, he said to me, I have a friend who's 35 and, he's online and he's dating 7-8 different women from all different countries. I go, that's not dating.
It's not.
I said, let me help you out. I go, has he ever gotten together with them? Has he ever physically met them? No. I go, that's not dating.
That's not dating.
And then he's saying,
you're texting.
Yeah. And then he's saying this 35-year-old is telling me how to handle this situation that I'm having with this woman because it's all via text and online. Yeah. And really what they're doing is they're just playing games together.
It's just games.
And they're calling it dating.
It's not dating.
I'm like, that's not dating. Let me help you out.
But they're losing.
Assuaging your freaking ego by having that many people who want to talk to you or send messages about what they're doing with it. You're not actually connecting with them.
Yeah, it is a game, and I mean, you can go to you can go to West Hollywood or Hollywood right now, and you go to the bars, wherever. Again, I'm a comedian, so I'm out a lot. And you walk in the door, at least a third of the people are on their phones. They're at a bar on their phones.
Why'd you even go out? Right? I mean,
and kind of we were talking about loneliness earlier. I mean, there's a loneliness epidemic happening in this country, especially with straight males, and the younger ones. And Rich, you make a big point because I told this to Lucas, and I tried to influence him to make sure that he was more of an outgoing person. I was like, what's happening on social media isn't real. It's a snapshot of a moment in time. It's not. No one's giving their true feelings and honest opinions in 135 seconds or in a picture that they're taking like this. It's not real. The conversations that me and you have are real. These are substantive conversations where I'm learning something about you and your generation. You're learning something about me and where I come from. And you can take that information and you're a better person for it. And so am I. That's real.
Yeah. Well, we're all from the same generation, all three of us.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I mean, right, you guys all remember back in the day, right? I mean, we used to sit and have dinner every night with the family, and everything was hashed out. What did you do in school? How's everything going? Blah, 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 blah.
We had no TVs on. There was no TV on.
No TV in when you watched.
We weren't even allowed to sing at the table, which I thought was a little weird.
And now...
like, why can't you sing?
Now parents are sitting down at the table, texting their kid in the other room while they're playing a game. Are you going to come to dinner? Are you going to come sit? And they don't even come in. Yeah, leave it out. I'll microwave it later, whatever. It's like if in our day, at least for me, my father, old-fashioned Italian from the Bronx, you didn't come when he came out and whistled. You didn't come home from dinner. Oh my God, you got a fucking beating and your ass was going to bed without dinner. I used to hide candy and crackers under my mattress because I got in trouble so much for being late that I needed to eat, but I mean, we can laugh at that. If you told this story to like my client who's 23, you'd be like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even understand that.
Yeah.
Different generation, but here we are.
Different generation.
I'm from Philly, so South Philly, which borders West Philly, is all Italian, and
right
so Rich, I grew up with guys like you ever since I was this knee high to a grasshopper.
No wonder why we get along so well.
And absolutely, but facts, black families, Italian families, Latino families back then, bro, you don't answer your mom's calls. Your dad told you not. Your dad told you not to do something, and you go ahead and do it. Oh my God!
You got beat.
And neighbors, and I was having this conversation at the Comedy Store a few nights ago. I was like, bro, my neighbors could whip my ass. What are you talking about?
Oh God,
you know you're not supposed to be doing that. Wait till your mother get home. You don't get your ass over here. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, straight up. And,
well, that's why it used to be raised by a village, because the entire village had the rights to discipline you. And I got to say, now beating is not good, but helping out and disciplining a kid would be beneficial, because there's a lot of kids out there, I think now, who don't know what to do when an actual problem happens. Because they haven't been given enough. But we can go on a whole topic on that too. I want to ask you about tips on people talking to you.
Yeah.
Because you were saying they don't know how to talk, and I thought let's dive into that a little bit. We can use it in the sphere of with a stand-up and going to talk to a comedian, but also just talking to people if you're going to a bar. Since you like to go out and do that, I write. I go and write at coffee shops so I can be around people and start going and meeting people.
Yeah.
But what are some tips you can give for how do you talk to somebody you don't know?
One, be obviously, I'm not going to say obviously because maybe it's not obvious. Be as authentic as you can. Bring your day with you. How's your day? You know what? I got stuck at the DMV for the past hour and a half, and I had to be here, and I decided I was just going to stop in here and have a coffee. I just won't even believe my day. Oh my God, you won't believe Be relatable. Have no agenda. I don't want something from somebody.
Right. No expectations.
No expectations. Just go for a conversation. We're all humans. We all have brains. We can all see if you have an agenda or an intention. We can see if you're nervous. And so going back to bring your day with you, if you're nervous, be like, oh my God, I'm trying to get out a little bit more. I haven't been out, and it kind of makes me feel a little anxious sometimes when I start talking to new people. Oh no, don't worry about it. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. But don't try.
I think I need to start hanging out with you a little bit more, Ron.
Oh yeah.
Maybe you can step my game up a little bit.
Yeah. Because I feel the same way. We all feel the same way. I'll equate it to like when I am around, like sometimes when I'm around really big name comedians, and you're like, you're fanboying out. Like I'm fanboying out. I'm like, oh my God, this is that comedian, and you start talking for 10 minutes, dude. They're just like us. They're just normal people.
Yeah.
They don't. And most celebrities, when you meet them, they don't want to be treated special. They're treated special all the time. They'd rather have somebody who's going to just chop it up with them and talk a little shit and poke them in the ribs a little bit and say, you ain't shit a little bit, so they can feel refreshed. One of my favorite celebrity stories is what's the guy? The newest Star Trek Captain Kirk. Chris. Pine.
I don't know. Oh, Chris Pine. Oh, the
Chris
film.
Pine.
Yes.
So I run into Chris Pine and his girlfriend, and when you meet somebody and you can't really place them at first, and so he could see, he could see we bump into each other, and I was like, I'm so sorry and everything like that, and he could see me putting together who he is,
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, like that." He goes, "Hey, how you doing?" And I was like, "Good." We're talking for a minute, and he goes, "Man, you have a great voice. Are you an actor or something like that?" Also, I was like, "No, I'm a comedian." And his girlfriend goes, "Oh my God, you're a comedian. We love comedy. What type of comedy?" So we start talking comedy real quick, and he was like, "What are your jokes about?" And my introduction when I go on stage is I'm black, I'm gay, I'm the white woman spirit animal. I treat straight guys like women throughout my entire set. Depending on the guy, and they're laughing. And he goes, "So what type of guy would you think that I am?" And I was just like, I don't know. You look like one of those wannabe hipster pussy niggas, and the look on his face, like, what? I mean, the look on it, he just loved it. And for like the next 5 minutes, I just roasted him and I didn't care. And he knew I didn't care, But how often did that happen to him?
Not
you know
often.
what I mean?
He must have thought this is such a refreshing thing because there's so many sycophants.
Yeah. He didn't try and leave. God. He didn't try and get out of the conversation. We sat there until the interaction felt done. His girlfriend followed me on Instagram. They were going to try and come to one of my shows at the Comedy Store, but they never made it. But still, it was just like we had a great conversation. And you could tell the more he knew that I didn't give a shit on who he was, the more he was into it. Yeah. And when I was roasting him, man, he looked like a kid on Christmas, man. He looked like and I was like, man, it was just really great meeting you. He goes, I know you're going to do it, man. I just had such a good time talking with you, and so that's what I would say is just like, no one is better than you,
Yeah.
And you're not better than no one, period.
Yep.
And the moment you start treating I tell you about my humor, but people will say, how do you get away with some of the things you say on stage? Is because I'm not talking down to anyone.
Right.
No one is the victim in my humor. Mm-hmm. I don't need to make someone else the expense of my jokes, my intelligence, or my perspective.
Exactly.
Have a conversation.
Which is the mark of a good man.
I appreciate that.
Agreed.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. But like both of you, I really appreciate both of you, and we have very similar perspectives, and it's these types of conversations that I think today's society needs to hear.
When you're sorry to interrupt you, but when you're authentic and you bring yourself to the table and you show up, you find your people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you're trying to be funny or trying to be clever or trying to be anything other than who you really are, you're not going to be authentic, transparent, and you're not going to find the people that you should spend time with and be around, because it's coming from a false perspective. And again, that's really all it is. It's about perspective. And we think that 100%. We need to impress, like you said, we don't need to impress anyone. Just show up and be you.
Right.
If you look, in my opinion, 50% of the people are going to like you. 50% of the people are not. It's just,
I say it all the time. Yep. 100%.
Right. So
I tell people,
if you're being authentic.
Right.
Not everybody's going to like you if you're being you. And that's totally fine. That's how it should be. If you're just trying to be liked, you're not going to have real connections with everybody.
You have to learn that with comedy. I tell younger comedians all the time, listen, some people love Led Zeppelin, some people love Prince. That's the way it is. It doesn't right? I like them both, but you know what I mean? It doesn't, you're going to get on stage and some people aren't going to like you. It's not your problem. Just own who you are. Just own who you are. I'm proud about every decision I've ever made, no matter how ridiculous, how fucked up, no matter how bad it turned out for me, no matter how good it turned out for me. I am proud of every decision I made, because when I'm having conversations, I own it. And there's something I learned from it.
You do the work on yourself. And when you work on yourself, then you get to show up as your authentic self. And you get to a point when you've done enough work on yourself, you get to a point where you don't give a fuck anymore. And I don't mean in a rude way or a bad way.
No,
but
you're not. Yeah,
because you're not trying to impress anybody.
Not scared,
right?
Are they gonna like me? You're like, I like me,
right?
That's all I need. Right. And then you might like me, and if you do, maybe we're together. Like maybe you're one of my people. Right? And if you don't, I still love you and let you go on your own way. Right. But this isn't for you then.
My acting coach John Coppola, he explained he gave me an analogy that I use all the time. He calls it the scar, and he goes, "Do you know how I got this scar? I was shark hunting, and oh my God, you won't believe. And if you're proud of how you got that scar, that is a beautiful scar, and everybody's interested. But if you're afraid of that scar and you're putting cakes of makeup all over your face and you're trying to hide people and you don't want them to see, then people are going to say something's wrong with that guy."
Right.
Something. So be proud of your scars.
Scars.
I love that.
I have a saying around that. Scars and injuries are the direct result of not sitting your ass on the couch. It's a direct result of getting out there and participating in life.
In life, no
matter what it is. Right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So my company's been paying for my stand-up comedy shows. They flew me out. We had a big corporate yearly thing out in Nashville. That's why I was out there. They flew me out there to tell jokes to all the corporate executives. And so I'm out there telling my jokes to rich old white men, in the South. And, I have this joke called Understanding the White Man for World Peace. And it is exactly, I wrote this joke for that crowd, and like my friends were like, "There's no way you're telling that joke in that crowd." And I was like, "This is the first joke I'm telling."
How'd it go over?
Oh, they loved it.
I bet.
Again, I'm not talking down to them, And by the way, I'm throwing out lines. I love white men. The white man tastes like chicken to me. You know how much niggas love chicken. You know how much the niggas love chicken. I'm throwing stuff like that down.
Well, you know what I mean? Jokes, in my opinion, and I know this is no, revelation, but if a joke is real and it comes from something that you have actually experienced, that shit is going to be funny because the crowd is going to relate to it because they can. But if you're trying to make people laugh or make up a joke, people are going to be like, "What are you talking about?" People laugh when they can relate.
Yes.
Yeah.
When it's real.
And they had a blast.
It's relatable. It's absurd. Yeah. It's either relatable, it's absurd, or they feel above somebody else.
Yeah. It's all of those three things. I use three elements: relatable, absurd, and educational. I tell younger comedians, every one of my jokes is about something I learned, something I experienced, something I saw, and why and how. So this way, by the time no matter how ridiculous the joke is, by the end of it, and I'm throwing out lines like, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, it's just where I was in my life. Sometimes my people pleaser just won't turn off. Throwing these little one-liners in between the madness because people are like, how the fuck are you? What is wrong with you? I'm not saying it's the right place to be in my life. It's just how I am right now. Like, I got you, been there. Everyone gets it. You're not. I'm not. No one's a victim. I'm not doing. I hate the white man. White man been holding the black man down. Can you imagine all the racism we have out here? It's none of that. This is my experience. This is what I've learned. Hear me.
Yeah.
Right. And now if you have questions, we can have a conversation right after the show is over. And I'm glad to have that conversation. One of my favorites. I tell people why I do stand up. I'll give you these two stories right now. One, I was in Boise. I did this show. I have this joke called sexism and homophobia. It is one of my big pro-woman rights jokes that I have. And I compare sexism and homophobia to be the disrespect of people that you don't understand. That's the underlying story, the underlying point behind the joke. And I was riffing. So I was making this one part that I made up was about equal pay for women. I threw it in there. And it's one of those things I had never said it at that time, but it got big laughs. And so at the end of the show, Liquid Laughs, you're standing there and the crowds are coming by and they're, thanking them for coming and everything like that. And people are saying they love you, they enjoyed your set and stuff. And this older couple had to be 65 age, around that age, white couple comes up and the woman's first and she's like, "I loved you." And the husband, first thing out of his mouth, and I was the feature, I wasn't the headliner, so he sat through another 35, 40 minutes of jokes. The first thing he said to me goes, "You're funny, but we don't need all those laws." Right? Right. You know?
Yeah. Well, because he's from a generation of like male chauvinist pigs. Right. So he's not obviously you
No, you were saying, what are you saying he meant by that?
He was the joke was laws for equal pay. Again, it was like a throwout line that I said you should have laws for equal pay.
Was he meaning it though? I'm sorry, I'm trying to get it. Was he meaning it that we don't need the laws because it should just be a given?
I guess so.
No, I think what I'm taking from it is, why are you trying to change the system? It's worked this many years. Now all of a sudden you're giving women more rights, more money, more. No. You need to shut up. Stop with your laws and your rules. That's I mean, that's how I took it because of his age.
Yeah, I kind of I think it was probably a little bit of all that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, you're dealing with this Fox News crowd. You know that they hear this stuff like Rich is saying. They come from this history, and the wife was just putting her bobbing her head. Yeah, he's right. I don't agree with you. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I was raised by a single mom. Here's another way to look at it, and that's how when I'm about to get into your ass. That's one of my figures. Here's another way to look at it, And I was like, let's pretend that you couldn't do your job anymore and your wife had to take over your job. And by any metric, she loved it. She was doing better, if not just as good, if not better than you, the whole 9 yards. But every month, you noticed the pay going down by 3 or 5% until you got to about 30%. Now, laws don't bite. Gay men do. That's exactly what I told them. And they're just like, so I was like, so if there was a law that you could check to make sure they weren't fucking with her money, then you could. Now look her in the face and tell her she wasn't worth it. And the look on both of their faces, you could just ting, 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 ting. It looked like a Picasso. They didn't ever think of it that way.
Right.
It was just that simple. They never thought of it that way.
Again, perspective.
It's making us think, which is good. Right. You're making our viewers and our listeners think.
Yes, I love it.
Reminds me, we are also visible on the YouTube. If you are listening to this on our audio platforms, you can. Yeah, you know how I did that? I should have wore my eyeliners and makeup. This is. I'm totally unprepared for this interview. Liar! You're great.
You're so pretty. Come on now.
I'm kind of embarrassed. I need to get a haircut tomorrow. So,
for those of you who are just listening to us, he's actually wearing red spangles and like glitter, and a feather boa hat. And there's like
absolutely.
glitter all over his cheeks and little diamonds.
Yes. And my sharp, pointy fingernails, like Megan Thee Stallion.
Fingernails that would make Barbara Streisand go, honey.
Absolutely. Well, yeah.
All of this is not true. He's totally not just
This has been an absolute pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
A long time coming, but I'm so grateful and glad that we finally got you on the show. And thank you so much for your wisdom, your education. And again, the main purpose of us doing this podcast is
it's about living your best life. And so we're giving people
I love it.
A different perspective.
Yeah. And we just got on several things, which is awesome. I think we'd love to have you back at a later point as well. Because I feel like we could have kept talking forever.
I would love to. I love both of you. Both of your energy. I've had a very good time. And I really
down again.
I really enjoyed the conversation that we've had. I love it. I love living your best life. I would just say, folks, fall in love with yourself, be your authentic self. Eventually we're all going to be laying on our deathbed, wonder what we did with our lives, and so there's nothing to hold back on. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to fall down and skin our knee. Be proud of it when you do. Laugh at it. You'll be fine.
Stay in your own lane and get after it.
Get after it. That's exactly right.
On.
That's
All right,
exactly right.
Ron. Thank you so much,
Thank
bro.
you so much.
Thank you both so much. This has been amazing, and I would love to come back. And once we get to episode 100 with Mike and Ron here to help, I would love to have you guys on so we can have a conversation similar to this.
We're a team.
Yeah, I love it.
You got to take us both.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that is a guarantee. I would. Yeah, this has been fantastic. I love both of your perspectives, and thank you very much for having me.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, brother. Peace.
Peace. You have a great day now.
You too.